The Sports Source is brought to you by Fast Frame. Turn your memorabilia into a work of art.
You are watching East Tennessee's first and only year-round sports talk show on television. This is The Sports Source with your host, John Pennington.
Good Sunday morning and welcome into The Sports Source. Happy to have you with us. This show, of course, presented by Bill Hotz and Associates. We got a big show today because it's a big week in Tennessee. Spring begins, and not just that silly calendar thing. Spring practice begins this week. For the Volunteers, we are going to have 14 questions on UT spring practice that we're going to throw out through today's show. Plus, Conzo Martin returns to the SEC. Most talk show hosts are happy for controversial topics. I think we've had enough controversial topics around Knoxville, but we'll get into the Conzo Martin thing too. Let's get right into today's show. This first segment brought to you by, as I said, Bill Hotz and Associates. You know, people tend to laugh at car wreck attorneys right up until they're injured in an accident with a careless driver. Then all of a sudden it becomes serious because it's a matter of medical bills, time off from work. If you've been injured in a car wreck, give a call to Bill Hotz and Associates. They give you the legal representation you need. They've got 30 years of track record behind them. Bill Hotz and Associates. All right, want to welcome in the first wave of guests here. They got about 30 years or more behind them. We got
a lot more.
Bob Hodge right here, Josh Ward right there, Mike Griffith, Chuck Cavaleris. Good to have all you guys with us today. As I say, spring practice starts this week. First segment, we're going to have 3 questions here, all about the thing that most people are looking at. That's the quarterback competition. So let's go ahead and put up question number 1 here for the guys. Is naming a starting quarterback the top goal of the spring, or will a starter not be named until September anyway? And we'll say August, September. Do you think the goal right now is the quarterback race? Everyone's focused on the quarterback race. But do you think walking out of spring practice with a quarterback is really a legitimate goal, or do you think it gets named later?
I think that's the last thing that's going to happen. There's not going to be a quarterback named this spring. They are going to put a lot of attention on it, and they want to get an idea what their offense is going to look like, because these quarterbacks are a little different. But there's no way, John, that Butch Jones is going to name a starting quarterback this spring unless somebody gets injured.
Somebody gets hurt, yeah. I had it at 101 against. Because I mean, if it's all
somewhere
about
there's a Cavaliers board where he's moving markers in a visor.
Well, I mean, it's all about competition, right? I mean, and you want competition across the board. So you want this to continue into August.
Yes.
I mean, and to me, it's obvious. And like you said, it is different skill set. You kind of wish Dormady had a little bit more experience last year. I don't know you had a whole lot of opportunity to do that. But no, I don't think there's really any chance you name one.
Gentlemen?
I'm going to agree that there's not a chance to name one, but I'm going to disagree a little bit. I think it would be good if you could, because these guys get together in the summer, they work out together, and if the guys, the receivers and the other players are out there saying, okay, this is the guy, the other side's going to be, well, they're going to be splitting time in these voluntary workouts together. I think it would be good, but I also agree there's no way that they're going to.
I see what you're saying. So if you've got one guy who's really the leader working with his guys, you get more reps for him.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think it's actually a priority to wait. And if you had a guy coming back that you knew was the guy, I think that Tennessee would love that. They would love to move forward with it. But when you have Dormady, who is so inexperienced in terms of meaningful playing time, and then Jarrett Guarantano has no experience as a redshirt freshman, I think Tennessee's coaches want the competition for several reasons to go all the way up till September, perhaps past the start of September.
I agree. I think it probably stretches out. We did a podcast this week where we talked about that, and I think it stretches out. Even if somebody comes out and is clearly better than the other one this spring, I think they're still going to try and stretch this thing out into the summer and possibly into September. All right. Question number 2, let's keep it with the quarterback battle. Will the loser of the quarterback competition transfer from Tennessee when a starter is finally named? That's Guarantano, Dormady, or Sharon Jones, who's already transferred once and then transferred back. Colorado got a do-over from Colorado. Will the loser of this competition transfer?
Is that a transfer after next season?
That's transfer as soon as the starter is named. And let me just go ahead and say this. I'll start this one. It'll probably push you down one way or the other, but if you go by what's going on in college sports, as soon as somebody's named, other guys leaving. But, I mean, not everybody.
I'm going to go with if Guarantano wins, Dormady transfers. If Dormady wins, Guarantano doesn't transfer.
Okay.
I will say the ultimate road is a transfer, and we are in that transfer era. Dormady could be in a tricky spot. If it goes past the start of the season, he loses the job in the middle of the year. He's a junior already. And now he still has a redshirt year that's available, but in terms of eligibility that's remaining, there's not much remaining past this season.
Happened at Alabama this year. They went into the first game, named a guy, and then boom, second week, the backup says, I'm gone.
I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think they're going to transfer. Number one, I think you're going to see both of these guys end up starting a game, whether that's because of injury or indecision or just because they want to have a couple quarterbacks battling for the position in the month of September. And then I think Jones is going to wait to see if one of the first two transfers. So I think we're going to have a little bit of a standoff where everybody's going to be looking at each other, waiting to see who breaks. I don't think any of them are going to break because I think Tennessee's going to win some games early next season.
I think it's kind of surprising Dormady hasn't transferred already.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think it suggests he really likes it here.
Yeah, especially you hear some of the comments from his dad. It's a coach. It's a 14-hour drive back to Texas, and he's had chances. So I kind of admire him for sticking it out, and I would hope he stays.
Okay, very good. Last one. There we go. Is Jarrett Guarantano as big a favorite in the quarterback race as everyone seems to believe? You talk to people at Tennessee, and everybody prefaces it with that. I say it. I've heard a million people. Well, when you talk to people at UT, they do. I mean, you get glowing reports on this guy. I heard the word generational thrown out in context with Jarrett Guarantano. Now, that remains to be seen. You don't know how he's going to perform on the field. But is he the big leader that everyone thinks, or might Quentin Dormady surprise some folks, or the guy that's forgotten in all this, who was a 4-star coming out of high school and has a pretty good tape of high school highlights if you're in for that kind of thing, Sharon Jones? Is Guarantano as big a leader as everybody thinks?
It sure seems like it.
Well, we know seems.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think he is because, I mean, you actually get caught a little bit of that last year when Josh Dobbs is having a pretty good season, and you still had a little bit of that undercurrent. So, yeah, I mean, this is what everybody's kind of pinning their hopes on.
Well, there's more of a hype machine. I mean, there's one, and I won't name anybody, but there's media agencies buying his dad's steak dinners when they see him and things like that. That's really happening. And this was a guy that was out at Oregon at that Elite 11 camp, and he does have a lot of hype, and he does look great on the field. But at the end of the day, I think he's 190 pounds soaking wet. And so with all that ability, John, and athleticism, this is still a guy that I wonder could make it through an entire SEC season healthy.
I would call Jarrett Guarantano the favorite because I think big picture, long term, he probably does more of what Tennessee wants to do offensively. But should he be as big of a favorite as he is right now? I don't think so because Dormady is the one that's probably more built to play right now in college football and does have some experience. So as big of a favorite, no, I would not say that.
Bob, is this a slam dunk for Guarantano?
No, I don't think it is. I mean, this is a lot of rumors and conjectures and people saying things. And here's the deal: if he looks as good over there as everybody is saying he does, then do you really wait to name your starting quarterback? I mean, if he's that much better,
right,
then what do you gain?
Well, and the other thing is this. If you remember back 3 years ago, Dobbs wasn't good in practice, was clearly better on the field. Peterman was great in practice, and then he got on the field and had a really bad day, and fans said we never want to see him again. Then he goes, slowly over time, develops. So you don't know, is Guarantano a guy that steps on the field immediately? Does he play as well as he practices? You don't know those kind of things.
That's a great analogy, though. When you compare those quarterbacks in the subtle differences in their abilities, I think that's a great comparison.
All right, when we come back, we are going to continue to talk about Tennessee football. We have 11 more questions to go. Up next, we bring out the spinning wheel. That means random, and we're going to spin the questions. We don't put one of our contestants on the wheel. Come on back on the Sports Source.